How do you have confidence with such a short history of the VIX products when it comes to trusting the signals they produce? So how do I trust the short history? And you're absolutely right. It is a short history. The way I look at it is it's almost an advantage. We talked about this last week in the stream where the VIX futures launched in March 26, 2004. So we've really only got robust volatility data going back to 2004. And we've got a lot of other things that only really started in 2006, 2007. So you're talking about maximum 20 years, but really maybe 15 to 20 years of good data. And then before that, the VIX index launched in 93. We can back test it to 86. So that stretches it a bit, but the VIX index itself is not a good indicator for anything. So that's not overly helpful. And then you've got the implied volatility, historical volatility, all the standard S&P stuff that you could stretch back to the 90s and the 80s. But again, I look at it as an advantage because what I'm looking for with my strategies is a consistent, robust data set with bull markets and bear markets included, as many as possible. And when you look at the way that the world works these days, anything before the mid-2000s probably isn't useful anyway. Even if we had very robust data going back to the 60s and 70s, I wouldn't use it anyway because the Fed is different these days. The government is different. The way they spend money, the way they bail things out, the way they save the consumer. All of these things are different. It's a totally different macro environment. Interest rates are different. Inflation's different. Housing market is totally different in the last 20 years. So you wouldn't want to use that old data even if it was available. I think the robust set we have from about mid-2000s, say 2006, up until 2023 is a very good chunk of 20 years. I think that's the one that I would want to use. Even if I had 50 years, I would still only use that 20 years. And fortunately, we've had several bull markets, bear markets, massive volatility events. We've had from 2016, March 1st, 2016, all the way to January 2018. It's probably the lowest volatility period in history. And then we've also had some of the highest volatility in history. Of course, the COVID crash was the highest the VIX has been since October 1987. So we've had a really good mix of everything going here. And that's my data set, 2004 to 2023. And every year I'm just going to keep adding to it. The only reason I would really change is, again, if the world fundamentally changed, then you would want to fundamentally change your data set. If for some reason fiat currency collapsed and we went to Bitcoin as the global reserve currency and we abolished the Fed and it wasn't there anymore and the government was bankrupt, so they can't bail anything out. If we were in that situation, then what good would volatility data from 2010 be? It would be a totally different world and that wouldn't be useful for anybody. So fortunately, that's not the world we live in right now. Come back 10 years and ask me this same question, the world might change. As it stands right now, we have a very solid data set. So I don't look at it, like you mentioned, as very limited. I actually look at it as that's just what I would choose anyway, even if it was an extended period. I don't care. I don't want it. The world is different these days, and we have to trade based on what is right in front of us, not the market we want, the market we have, not the Fed we want, the Fed we have. We just take them for what they are, and it's bad, and we all criticize it, but it is what it is.